The year was 2009. I was still using an old Sony Ericsson phone. The only way you would text people is either through ICQ or MSN Messenger, or some people already had a Facebook profile. In Europe, not so many.
Facebook!
Video calling just became a thing, right? The iPhone was just released. Some video phones had the ability to call people on video. The internet was just really slow back then. So around that time, in 2009, this website got launched and it skyrocketed. It went from 0 to 100 in a couple of weeks. The name of the website was ChatRoulette. The principle was really simple. And if you remember the website, you're in the right age group, please comment below. For the young viewers, I'm gonna explain it real quick. You basically went on this website, you turn on your webcam, and you had a box where you look at the other person.
Why are you looking at me like that?
And you had one button and it just said next. As soon as one of the two people would press next, the conversation would end and you would get, assigned to a new person. So as with roulette, you get a new number all the time. You spin it again. Similar to Tinder now, right? Both have to agree to talk to each other, or similar to this show from America, The Button, or as soon as one person presses the button, the conversation ends.
Do you know how if there's someone you really like, you like the smell of them?
Yes.
I'm the same way with my dog.
Okay.
Do you have any dogs? Yeah.
This was really exciting, especially at the beginning, because only young people knew of it. It wasn't, it didn't have any bad annotations yet, and it was exciting for me. I finally could talk to people from Argentina, and then the next one from Chile, and then the next one from Jordan, and then the next one from the USA, and then the next one from Australia. So suddenly, me sitting, all day in this boarding school with other guys, usually we just went to the supermarket, played soccer, played Counter-Strike online. I played a lot of online poker. Suddenly I had this ability to talk to people, and especially to women from all around the globe. It was incredibly exciting. So I got really into it, and it actually helped my English skills because I would text, I would talk to people there. It gave me a little bit of an understanding of how to present yourself online. Most conversations were only 20 seconds, 1 minute, and so on. But, of course, instantly my young, horny self thought, okay, how can I take advantage of this opportunity? Now, this was a form of social media, one of the first forms of social media. And I'm kind of reminiscing of the times where social media was just text.
What?
No memes, no GIFs, no sharing videos, no reaction with double tapping. You had to rely on your abilities to communicate. It was kind of beautiful. I remember even before high school, getting home, turning on my ICQ application. I still remember my 9-digit ICQ number. And you would just see who is online, because it would be green and not yellow or grayed out. And you would say, hey, and then da-da-da, and you would share about your day and about your emotions and what you're working on. It was so beautifully innocent, and I don't know, I guess that just gets lost with technology. New things come, other things go. Now you just share a meme and the other one just taps a button and then it auto-responds with a text. Now you don't even have to type anymore, the AI does it all for you. But yes, you have to understand, back then you had to rely on your abilities to text, write or talk into a camera in order to get someone's attention. Obviously, there are social media platforms who are trying to go against this trend of just sharing, multimedia content, like Be Real, where you send a photo how you really look like right now, or IRL, that is built around creating events. But the reality is, these platforms like Instagram Reels and TikTok and so on, they just hijack our dopamine system in a way that it's really difficult to escape when you have, pretty standard or boring life. In this video, I want to tell you how I managed to get 2 girls off ChatRoulette and meet them in the real world, but more on that later. First, I want to tell you the benefits of kind of being ahead on a trend. We love these stories, and I love these stories of nerds using technology to, get ahead of everyone else, being ahead of the curve.
The ideas that I have are something that I can easily pursue, so I think it'd be a tough transition.
Yeah, I love the movie The Social Network, where Mark Zuckerberg gets rich out of his college dorm.
You killed it.
Or the story of my friend Crypto, who was a taxi driver just 4 or 5 years ago, crypto and uses YouTube and even his phone to record videos daily and become a big influencer in crypto. And Tim Ferriss with his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. That was really inspirational for me back then when I was 18, 19, to show me a different way of living and, using outsourcing and traveling and certain task management systems to work less and still make money and being able to live a dream life, to live an adventurous life. And the beautiful thing is, if you are switched on, if you think logically and you're kind of on trends and you know the principles of social media, there will always be the next thing, right? Back then, we still were writing letters, then the telephone came. Then the internet came. Then with the internet, text messaging came and video streaming came. Then social media platforms came, Facebook, there was another one in Germany, I forgot, ICQ Messenger, and so on. Then, of course, now we live in a world where we're on Instagram, TikTok, where there's live streaming, where we build whole personas and archetypes online and so on. And it can be a bit overwhelming, but the principles are always the same. The danger these days is that you become an overconsumer. Back then, let's think about text messaging. You couldn't be overly consuming text messaging because it relied on the other party to text you, and then they would only text if you text. So you would be constantly creating, you would be thinking what to say and how to frame it, and it was basically writing letters but with your keyboard. Through the news feed, the endless feed that never stops, you can be a pure consumer. This is what a real danger of social media lays, right? Social media is amazing to connect, to communicate, to create an archetype, to attract women and to get laid, but it can also be incredibly toxic, addictive, a waste of time, bending your perception of what is good and what is bad and who you should be as a man and how you should look like and how your body should look like. So there's a lot of negative stuff as there. Basically, you have to be very aware of those sides of social media. If you theoretically know all this stuff, but you're still kind of confused how to actually build a strong social media profile, I have a free guide. It's a 3-part series on how to build an attractive Instagram profile that will help you massively with your dating life. If you want to watch it, you can just click below and download it right now. The story of the first girl I met off ChatRoulette in the real world is at the same time the story of kind of my first girlfriend.
What a twist!
I was 17, she was 22, she was 5 years older than me. So we were chatting, and then obviously, in order to continue a conversation with a girl you see on ChatRoulette, you had to instantly close her, right? You had to instantly get her contact details. I think back then it was mostly Skype, right? You would exchange Skype usernames so you can keep chatting. Also, I remember the internet was so bad that it often would just, die. So you might be in a 4-minute conversation with a girl you were really into and you were excited and you had a vibe, but maybe it got a bit naughty because you're both horny and excited, and suddenly the internet dies and she would be lost forever. That was really, that was sad.
Please, God, someone, please. Let me do this, let me do this, let me do this. Yes! 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 No! No! No!
As I remember that, I was like, oh, that was really frustrating when you're really into someone and there's just no way to contact them again. It's not really a problem anymore. So I would chat with this girl on Skype. Sometimes it would get a bit naughty. Maybe she would show me her boobs online. And remember, I was 17. I was a virgin. I was in an all-boys boarding school all week long. I didn't really have any female friends. I didn't have any intimacy. So this was exciting. This was cool. So I would chat with her on Skype and we became, I would say, really good friends.
I'm here.
Let us make love for 1 whole month.
We were chatting every day about our day in English. And back then, I sucked at English. I was really bad. I barely made it into that high school based on my bad English grades. So not only was it exciting and I kind of felt like I have this female pen pal, I was also massively improving my English skills because I was chatting with her on Skype, sometimes on video, sometimes just voice, sometimes sending, was voice messages a thing? I don't remember. Time passed, like a year, right? We would chat almost every day in a friendly way, sometimes sending some naughty pics, but not like boyfriend, girlfriend. Like she told me about going out and maybe kissing other guys and stuff like that. We weren't in love or anything like that. But eventually she decided she wants to come to Europe. And her way of coming to Europe was getting an au pair job. So she was applying to all these different families, and then one family, a wealthy family in Milan, accepted her. They had 2 children, and she spent a couple of months in Italy, which is already closer to Austria than in the USA. One day she told me this family is doing a holiday in Austria, in Salzburg, 1 hour from my home. And I had to take initiative. I was like, this is it. I want to meet this girl. I think I was 18 at that point. And I told her, try to get a few days off after your Salzburg trip. I'll pick you up. And it all worked out. I drove my mom's car 1 hour from where I live to Salzburg, and we met. And I still remember we met in this weird restaurant, and she would come around the corner wearing this leopard leggings, and she was really nervous, way more than me. It was surreal because we would spend hours online, right, seeing each other's faces, but then there was this whole real body. And yeah, we would get instantly hug, and it felt really good, and we smelled each other. Imagine all these other sensations coming in from this digital into the real thing of now you can feel her and touch her, and the softness of her skin, and is the skin cold or hot, and how does she smell, and how strong does she touch, and how tall is she really. So that was really exciting. We drove in the car, spent some days in my little village in Austria basically, and then spent some days in Vienna. So we spent about a week together, and I think she was the second or third girl I ever had sex with in my life. Not the first, but one of the first 3 or 4. The first one where I could experiment a bit and who taught me stuff, and it was really exciting. It was great. I just remembered the first 3 days out of these 7 together, I still had a night shift job. So I was 18, I was working in this factory from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I remember being in this factory, clearing out big, wagons of wood and cleaning huge floors in factory halls. I was thinking all the time, oh my God, I can't wait to go home. Can't wait to get home to my girl. So I would arrive home at 6 a.m., kind of wake her up, snuggle in bed. That was really exciting. Anyway, we agreed to meet again. So time passed, and remember, she was 23 at that point. She was living in Milan. She was beautiful. Obviously, guys were trying to date her. So we meet again. We're driving to Munich. We're in a car. I rented a car this time, I think. How did I have money for that? Probably I spent all my money. I don't know. And she would tell me about her life in Milan, and she was like, yeah, it's cool, it's beautiful, and she was trying to test the waters. I'm not sure. And again, I was 18, I didn't have any other girls, so she was kind of my only one thing, of one-itis, right? I was really invested at that point. And she would tell me, yeah, there's this other guy, he's really cool. And she just tests a little bit of just telling me one thing about one guy. Maybe I asked her who is this guy who's always on your Instagram story, or who reposts you, or Facebook, I don't know. But it clearly triggered me. I was in 10 out of 10 jealous, and she would open up a little bit about it, and I would grab the wheel of the car and accelerate to top speed, and just basically inside raging, just wanting to end it. And it was really scary. And what followed was just a brutal week. I would sit in the shower, just letting water pour on my head. I would just walk out erratically, just leave her alone. And I would be really angry, and I couldn't handle it at all. That was horrible. Basically decided, that's it, we're done. Overacting, dramatic, traumatizing, I don't know. And I just, instead of going to Vienna with her again, I think we had a flight. I just booked her a ticket, went to the train station, booked her a ticket, told her, you're going home tomorrow or today. I drove her to the train station, put her luggage in, said, okay, goodbye. And she was crying, and she called me, and she sent me messages. I'm crying the whole ride. And I don't know, it felt really weird. I just couldn't handle the emotions. I didn't eat for 5 days. It was kind of my first girlfriend, and the understanding of, okay, I'm 18, what can I give her? There's this guys in Milan who are taking her to these bars, and she would want, I still remember the one detail of, yeah, and the drink there was 20 euros. And I was like, oh my God, guys are buying her a drink for 20 euros. That's so much money. I get 20 euros a week from my dad, and I spend it on milk and cookies in the supermarket. And, I'm trying to play online poker to make some money, but it's not taking off yet. And it was so stressful to trying to compete with this imaginary billionaires in Milan, when it really was just normal guys who just went out for a drink. But for me back then, this was this luxury, crazy world. So some of the principles in these stories are for sure take initiative, right? So I got online and I presented myself well, and I got her on Skype, and then I texted her, and then I offered her to pick her up, and I made I did the steps it took to meet her and to do it. And I don't know, I asked my grandma if I can use her place and da. So you have to take initiative as a man. Also, I leveled up, right? I realized, okay, I'm really young. I don't have a lot to offer, but I do have the ability to drive. I have a driving license. I can rent a car, or I can borrow my mom's car. I can show her things. I can make a plan. I can show her Europe a bit. I still offered her what I had to offer in order to give her a good experience. I understood, even though I was 5 years younger and I was almost a virgin and my life was kind of boring, I still knew I'm the man. I need to give her experience. I need to plan, right? I booked the hotel. I checked the route on Google Maps and kind of scheduled museum visits and so on. I still was taking leadership. And I guess I proved everything is possible. If me as a nerd studying electrical engineering, dude in boarding school, can get a hot 23-year-old out of the US into my grandmother's bedroom, everything is possible. So I read this thing yesterday of, oh, how good does my game have to be in order to start cold approaching? And it's so dumb. And the response from another guy was like, well, how big do your muscles have to be to start going to the gym, right? The principle here is you can start today. You can start today to cold approach, right? This is kind of the best hack to meet women. You don't need to rely on a website, on an algorithm, or swipe on Tinder, or wait for your friend to introduce you to some other single female. You can go out today, take initiative, even if you're 18 years old, even if you're 36 years old, even if you're broke, even if your style isn't that good yet, right? I have other videos on style and fashion, how to make yourself more presentable. But at the end of the day, if you are charming to an extent and say hi and are not coming off as totally weird, which can be fixed in, a handful of coaching sessions, you will have success. You will get girls' numbers. Girls would want to go on dates with you. And that's really exciting. So I think that was an important lesson in my life, to learn that as long as you do something, you will get something back. And ultimately, over time, I also learned heartbreak is a thing. I'm pretty jealous. I do work on my jealousy since then. It's been over 10 years and I'm still, I'm not a 10 out of 10 anymore, but I'm still a 7 out of 10 at least. That's just all part of life, and you just become better at dealing with it. But heartbreak is a part. Time heals it. It was kind of the first time I had to face my internal demons of attachment and weird mindsets of what it means to be in love and trust and loyalty and being outcompeted by another alpha. So important lessons to do. And again, if you just never have any relationships with women, if you completely block it out, if you're the kind of guy who says it's not worth it.
It's about talking to women, and I know how to do that.
Don't tell me, okay, Andy?
I won't. Unless you want to be told on. Beth.
The press is not worth the juice, so the juice is not worth the work. Whatever. You will never have those experiences. You will never face these demons. You will never progress as a man. You will never be truly masculine if you just ignore all that part of your psychology. Fast forward a couple of years. Now we're in 2018, which means I've been working with the natural lifestyles for about 4 or 5 years. I've been, traveling around the world with James and the crew, filming, editing, starting my own coaching career around that time. I was still in touch with one of the girls I met back in 2010-ish on ChatRoulette. So we added each other on Facebook, and about once a year I would check in with her. She often had a boyfriend, she was moving cities. I remember she lived in Poland when I lived in Budapest. So I was considering, should I take a train up to Warsaw to meet her? Should I buy her a ticket down? Now she has a boyfriend. Now I'm leaving. Now she's on holiday. But now I'm in Thailand, and so on. So it just never worked out. But over the years, so 7-8 years passed, we're always still in touch, right? She's a beautiful Polish girl. One day I was in New York and something must have popped up. I don't know. And I saw she's also in New York. So finally we met up. After 8 years of chatting back and forth, we finally met up and we both just took initiative. I think she came straight over to my New York Airbnb and we spent an exciting, interesting, awesome night together. Like all this tension over 8 years finally got released. So that was very interesting. It wasn't as emotionally deep as the other story. I didn't feel like I'm in a relationship with this girl, but there were still really important lessons there. One lesson is social media is kind of evergreen, right? It does give you the opportunity to stay in touch with people over a very long period of time, which can be great for business, for networks, with your extended family. A lot of people just live in different countries now. We don't all just live in the same commune village anymore. Your photos are evergreen. If you build a cool persona, if you have a basic profile that ticks the boxes, and again, if you want to understand what does that even mean, click below for my free guide, then girls can go back on that. Girls will follow you. Girls will see some story here and there. If you post stories here and there, or here and there new, photos from your holiday, or just a basic post, girls will notice, even subconsciously. You will stay in the back of their mind, and it is basically your constant marketing machine that is free. You're basically running ads, and the product is you, and it costs you nothing. So that's great. Another important principle there is I was never like burning the lead, right? I was always friendly with her, checking in, sure, being flirtatious and so on. But I was never like, okay, if you don't meet me now, then we're done. Or seems like you don't really want me, or any other salty kind of reaction of it not happening, or she flaking on me, or she making other plans. I see a lot of guys do that, right? They're like, well, seems like it doesn't work out with her, and then they just tell her and like, okay, that's it, we're done, or seems like I'm not that important, or okay, you have other priorities, or any of that shit. It doesn't help you on two ways. It doesn't help your mindset, because it just proves that you are living in scarcity, you don't have abundance, that everything needs to happen really fast. You're kind of telling yourself that girls actually don't like you and you're not worthy. So you are repeating all these negative thought patterns in your mind, really bad for your internal state and then your external results. And secondly, you're just destroying the lead, right? She might want to date you in a year. Maybe she has something going on right now. Maybe she's really stressed. Maybe she's going through a breakthrough, but she does like you, but she just not now. So stay friendly, stay chill, be the guy who's always, in a good mood and flirtatious and no stress, relaxed. That's really attractive for her. So I stayed like that for 8 years, and it paid off eventually. Also important, one message a year with this girl was totally enough. I wasn't like being her pen pal every week, right? That would be way too much. So you wanna, most of the time, pull back the investment you have in girls. It's actually also cool these days with social media that you can invest so little. Back then, chatting with a girl on ICQ or Skype, well, you have to open the conversation, you have to engage her. As I described before, you have to share about your day, your emotions. That is already a lot of investment these days. Now, a girl can put up a cool photo of a beach you've also been, and you just like put a like, or you like, love that beach, or gives me good memories, or whatever, right? You just react to stuff instead of showing, hey, I'm thinking about you, how are you, how was your day, I remember our good time, missed you. You don't have to do that anymore. So keep it really simple with checking in with people, right? Opportunity is there, and you can keep it as simple as just putting posts out yourself and reminding people you exist, or here and there messaging girls, but it can be very low. You don't want to really show more investment than she shows in you ever. And finally, another principle is obviously the more you travel, the more you get around, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're in different cities, different locations, the more opportunities will naturally come into your life. What does that mean for you? Well, as I mentioned, every social media platform has its golden time, right? Tinder was awesome in 2016, 2017. I remember it was great. A lot of matches. Everybody wanted to meet. It was exciting. Now Tinder, shit show. Really. Like if you're not in the top 2-3% of men, you don't have really perfect photos, and you fit in this perfect archetype of man that, women envision of what is attractive now, you are really outnumbered by a lot. On top of that, you have to invest money to stay relevant, to, you're begging the algorithm with your dollars to keep showing you to other girls. So it's very depressing. You can still use it if you have an advantage. If you are, let's say, a Westerner in a, poor country, you have some advantages, but for a normal dating life where we're looking to become high value man in order to date high value women, Tinder is just not it. I would say Instagram is much better for that. We're still living in the golden era of Instagram, where you can build an archetype. You can post photos, you can tell a story, you can post stories to tell stories. You can tell people what you're about. You can show your humor, you can show your vulnerable side, you can show your strong side, how you're disciplined. All of that you can show on Instagram, and you cannot really show it on Tinder. Instagram is crucial as an addition to your dating life. I'm not saying post photos every day and start DMing girls. That's business, right? You can do cold outreach if you are a marketing agency or whatever. But if you're a man trying to date high value women, the real thing you have to develop is your charisma, your social life, your body, your style in the real world. And then meeting women in the real world. Go out, talk to girls, go out, go on parties, go into networking events, go to university parties, go traveling, go to the beach, talk to girls there, right? Meet other social groups, and then add them on Instagram and keep in touch with them on Instagram over a long time. So if you really want to take this serious, I have a big online course on that goes more into depth than my free guide, which you can also find online or comment below. I can send it to you. And yeah, this goes into depth on how to build a truly sexy, attractive archetype on social media. But this is the game, right? If you want to have dating success in 2023 and beyond, work on your charisma and out of the 5 elements that I often mention. And then your addition is show all that also on Instagram, so you can play the long game and you can play the international game.